Merchant Captain Velas's hands shook as he recorded the message. His gray skin looked even paler under the emergency lights. The small Velrian had lived 70 years without seeing real violence. That changed 3 days ago when the Crag Raiders arrived. "This is Velrin Colony sending distress call to any ship in range." He spoke into the recorder, his large eyes wet with tears. "We are under attack. Slavers have taken 400 of our people. They demand we surrender or they will execute the hostages. We have no weapons, no defense. Please, anyone who receives this, we need help." Behind him, smoke rose from burning buildings. Screams echoed through the settlement. Velas turned off the recorder and sent the message into space. He had no idea if anyone would come. The Galactic Council was too far away. Local defense forces were days out. His people would be dead or enslaved long before help arrived. He was wrong about one thing. Someone was listening. 12 light-years away, the UES Retribution cut through deep space. The human warship was returning from patrol duty along the frontier when the distress call reached them. Lieutenant Yuna Park brought the message to the bridge, her face blank as always. Captain Dong-Soo Kim sat in his command chair, studying the message on his screen. He was a large man by human standards, his face marked with old scars. At 45, he had seen enough war to last several lifetimes. His dark eyes showed no emotion as he listened to Velas beg for help. "Distance?" Dong-Soo asked. 12 light-years, sir. 3 days at maximum speed, Yuna replied. She stood with perfect posture, her tactical officer uniform crisp and clean. "The colony has roughly 5,000 residents. Small mining operation, minimal defenses, the raiders, Crag slavers based on the ship signatures we're detecting. 4 vessels, approximately 200 ground forces," Yuna paused. "Should I contact command for backup?" Dong-Soo shook his head. "No time. We respond alone." The bridge crew exchanged glances but said nothing. This was not unusual for their captain. Dong-Soo had a reputation in the human fleet. He did not wait for orders. He did not negotiate. When slavers were involved, he had only one response. Set course for Velrin Colony. Maximum speed. Battle stations. Dong-Soo stood from his chair. "Yuna, prepare tactical scenarios. I want options for both space and ground engagement." "Yes, sir." Yuna's fingers moved across her console. "Rules of engagement?" "Standard protocol for slavers." Dong-Soo's voice was cold. "No mercy." Down in the Marine Bay, Sergeant Hyunwoo Choi gathered his squad. The 32-year-old veteran had fought in the frontier wars and dozens of anti-piracy operations. He knew what no mercy meant. His Marines knew too. "Listen up," Hyunwoo called out to the 40 Marines preparing their gear. "Slaver raid on a mining colony. 400 hostages. We have 3 days to get there. When we arrive, we go in hard and fast. Rescue the civilians. Eliminate the threat." Corporal Taewon Song checked his demolition equipment in the corner. The quiet 26-year-old rarely spoke during briefings. He just listened, nodded, and did his job. His job usually involved making things explode. Private Sora Han sat on her bunk cleaning her rifle. At 22, this was her first real combat deployment. Training missions and simulations were one thing, but this was real. People were dying while they traveled through space. She looked up at Hyunwoo. "Sergeant, what if they surrender?" she asked. The bay went quiet. Several Marines looked at her. Hyunwoo walked over and crouched beside her bunk. "Sora, slavers don't get to surrender," he said, his voice not unkind. "They made their choice when they started taking people. We're not police. We're not judges. We're the consequence." "But the Galactic Council says—" "The Council isn't here," Hyunwoo interrupted. "Those civilians don't have 3 weeks for a proper legal response. They have days before they're gone forever. We do what we have to do." Sora nodded slowly, but her hand still shook slightly as she resumed cleaning her weapon. Across the ship, Dr. Jisoo Lee prepared the medical bay. The 35-year-old physician had served on the Retribution for 3 years. She organized beds, checked supplies, and prepared trauma equipment. A young medical assistant approached her. "Doctor, should I prepare extra beds for enemy wounded?" he asked. Jisoo did not look up from her work. "No. But regulations say we treat wounded combatants. Slavers are not combatants. They're criminals. I will treat every civilian we rescue. I will treat every one of our Marines who gets hurt. But I will not waste supplies on people who trade in lives." Her voice was firm. "Is that clear?" The assistant nodded and walked away quickly. On the planet's surface, slaver boss Cratch laughed as he read the intercepted response to the distress call. The large reptilian sat in what used to be the colony's administrative building. His scales were dark green, his eyes yellow and cold. He had raided 17 colonies in the past year. This was just another job. A single human ship is coming, he told his second-in-command, Navigator Pyrath. One ship to fight 4 of ours. These humans must be stupid. Pyrath was smaller than his boss, his scales lighter. He did not laugh. Boss, I have heard things about humans. They say their homeworld is deadly. They say, Cratch mocked. I have heard rumors too. Every new species has rumors. When I see this human ship, I will take it. Humans are rare in this sector. We will make good profit selling them as exotic slaves. But the stories say, enough. Cratch slammed his fist on the table. Prepare our ships. When the humans arrive, we intercept them. We show them that crag raiders do not fear Deathworlders or any other fools who think they can fight us. Pyrath bowed his head and left. But the worry did not leave his eyes. He had heard more than just rumors. He had spoken to survivors of raids where humans responded. The survivors all said the same thing. Humans did not take prisoners. They did not show mercy. They came like a storm and left only bodies behind. But Cratch would not listen. The boss was confident. Confident raiders made mistakes. The 3 days passed slowly. On the Retribution, the crew prepared. Yuna ran tactical simulations. Hyunwoo drilled his marines. Taewon prepared breaching charges and demolitions. Jisoo organized her medical supplies. Sora tried to sleep but mostly stared at the ceiling of her bunk, wondering what combat would really be like. Captain Dongsu spent the time in his quarters, reading reports about the Krag slavers. He learned their tactics, their weapons, their typical numbers. He studied the Velrin colony layout. He planned the assault down to the smallest detail. This was not his first slaver raid. It would not be his last, but something else drove him. Something personal. 10 years ago, pirates raided the colony where his wife and daughter lived. The Galactic Council responded with minimal force and proper protocols. By the time they finished negotiating and following procedures, the pirates had escaped. His family was never seen again. Dongsu learned a lesson that day. Mercy for monsters meant death for innocents. He would not make that mistake again. On the 3rd day, the Retribution dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Velrin system. Sensors immediately detected the 4 Krag raider ships in orbit around the colony. Yuna displayed the tactical information on the main screen. 4 vessels confirmed. Medium cruiser class. Weapons charging. They are moving to intercept us. Dongsu stood at his command chair. Broadcast our identification. Let them know who they are facing. The communication went out. For a moment, there was silence. Then Cratch's voice came through the speakers, loud and mocking. 1 human ship against 4 crag raiders. You should have brought more friends, Deathworlders. Leave now or we will destroy you and enslave your crew. This is your only warning. The bridge crew looked at their captain. Dongsu's face remained cold and emotionless. He did not respond to the threat. He simply turned to Yuna. Weapons free. Target their engines and weapon systems. No warning shots. He sat down in his chair. Show them what humans do to slavers. Yuna's fingers moved across her console. Firing. The battle for Velrin colony had begun. The first Krag raider ship never saw the missiles coming. Yuna had fired the moment Captain Dongsu gave the order, and her targeting was perfect. 6 missiles streaked through space and slammed into the raider's engine section. Explosions tore through the ship's hull. The vessel spun out of control, power failing. First target disabled, Yuna reported, her voice calm. Targeting second vessel. Cratch watched from his flagship as one of his ships died in seconds. The confidence drained from his face. All ships return fire. Destroy that human vessel. The 3 remaining raider ships opened fire with plasma cannons and kinetic weapons. The Retribution's shields absorbed most of the damage, but some shots got through, shaking the human ship. Dongsu gripped his command chair but did not flinch. Damage report, he called out. Shields at 70%. Hull integrity stable. The engineering officer responded. We can take it, sir. Yuna, focus fire on the second ship. Hyunwoo, prepare boarding teams. Down in the Marine Bay, Sergeant Hyunwoo heard the order through his comm. You heard the captain. Squad leaders, check your gear. We're going in hot. The Marines sealed their armor and grabbed their weapons. Private Sora felt her heart pounding as she locked her helmet in place. Through the bay windows, she could see the flashes of weapons fire in space. This was really happening. Taewon moved through the squads, handing out breaching charges and remote explosives. He stopped at Sora's position. "First time is always scary," he said quietly. "Stay close to the sergeant. Do what he does. You will be fine." Sora nodded, not trusting her voice to stay steady. In space, the battle continued. The Retribution fired again, and the second raider ship exploded. Unlike the first vessel, this one died completely. Fire bloomed in the vacuum and debris scattered in all directions. Yuna had not targeted the engines this time. She had targeted the reactor. "Second ship destroyed," she announced. "No survivors." Navigator Pyrath saw this from Cratch's bridge. "Boss, they are not trying to disable us. They are killing everyone. We need to run." Cratch's pride finally broke. "All ships, retreat. Make for hyperspace." But Yuna had already predicted this. She had been calculating escape routes since the battle started. "Captain, they are attempting to flee. The damaged ship cannot jump. The two remaining vessels are charging their hyperdrives. Pursue the flagship," Dongsu ordered. "Let the other one go for now. We can track it later." The Retribution accelerated, engines burning hard. The human ship was faster than the Crag Raiders expected. Within minutes, they caught up to Cratch's flagship. Yuna fired again, this time targeting the hyperdrive specifically. The shots were perfect. The Raiders' drive exploded internally, crippling the ship but leaving it intact. "Target disabled but functional," Yuna reported. "They still have life support and weapons." "Good." Dongsu stood. "I want prisoners from that ship." "Hyunwoo, you are clear to board." "Taewon, plant charges on everything important. If they do not cooperate, we blow the ship." The third raider ship escaped into hyperspace. Slave trader Moxus, an insectoid contractor working with the Crags, managed to jump away. But his distress call went out before he left, sending a message to other slaver groups in the sector. The message was simple. Humans were more dangerous than the rumors said. The boarding pods launched from the Retribution. 6 pods, each carrying 8 Marines, shot across space and slammed into Cratch's flagship. Breaching charges detonated and the Marines poured through the holes in the hull. Hyunwoo led the first squad in. The interior of the Crag ship was dark and filled with smoke. His helmet's sensors switched to thermal imaging. He saw heat signatures ahead, moving to defensive positions. "Contact front," he called out. His rifle fired controlled bursts of kinetic rounds. The Crag warriors were strong and tough, but their cover was weak. Human weapons punched through it easily. Sora came through the breach behind her sergeant. She saw a Crag warrior charging at them with a blade. Training took over. She fired her rifle. The rounds hit the warrior in the chest, dropping him. But he was not dead, only wounded. He tried to raise his weapon. Hyunwoo put 2 more rounds in the warrior's head. "Stay focused," he told Sora. "They are tough. Make sure they stay down." The Marines moved through the ship in teams, clearing each corridor and room. The fighting was brutal and close. In the tight spaces, the humans moved faster than the larger Crag warriors. Every corner was a potential ambush, but the Marines knew how to fight in these conditions. They had trained for years in close-quarters combat. Taewon planted demolition charges on key systems as they advanced: engine controls, weapon systems, life support junctions. If needed, he could destroy the entire ship with a single button press. On the bridge, Cratch realized his ship was being taken apart, piece by piece. He heard the gunfire getting closer. The screams of his crew echoed through the comm system. "How many humans are on my ship?" he demanded. "Sensors show 48 boarders," his tactical officer replied, his voice shaking. "Boss, they are not taking prisoners. Every warrior they find is killed." Cratch's yellow eyes widened. He had raided colonies for years. He had killed and enslaved thousands. But he had never faced an enemy like this. Most species tried to disable and capture. These humans were hunting his crew like prey. "Seal the bridge," Cratch ordered. "We make our stand here." But the heavy bridge doors did not stop the humans. Taewon placed breaching charges on the hinges and locks. The explosions were precise, calculated. The doors fell inward and Marines flooded onto the bridge. Cratch and 5 of his officers raised their weapons. A brief firefight erupted. Plasma bolts hit one Marine, burning through his armor. He went down screaming. But the return fire was devastating. 3 officers died immediately. Pyrath tried to raise his hands in surrender, but a burst of rifle fire cut him down anyway. Hyunwoo shot Cratch in the leg, dropping the slaver boss. "Secure the prisoners. Medical, we have 1 wounded Marine." 4 Marines grabbed Cratch and the 2 surviving officers, forcing them to the floor. Sora helped drag the wounded Marine to safety. She saw his injury, the burned flesh beneath the armor. Her stomach turned, but she forced herself to keep working. 20 minutes later, the ship was secured. Of the 100 Crag warriors on board, 94 were dead. Only 6 prisoners were taken, all bridge officers. The rest of the crew had fought or tried to run. The humans gave them no quarter. Captain Dongsu boarded the captured flagship with Dr. Jisoo. The medical officer immediately went to the wounded Marine, stabilizing him with practiced efficiency. She worked quickly and competently, her hands steady. A Marine approached her, dragging a wounded Crag warrior. "Doctor, this one is still breathing." "Should I leave him?" Jisoo said coldly, not looking up from her patient. "My supplies are for humans and victims, not slavers." The Marine nodded and walked away. The wounded Crag bled out slowly on the deck. No one tried to help him. Dongsu found Hyunwoo on the bridge. "Casualties?" "1 wounded, no dead, sir. We have 6 prisoners, including their leader." "Good. Bring him to me." Cratch was forced to his knees before the human captain. The slaver boss looked up at Dongsu, seeing the cold expression on the human's face. For the first time in his life, Cratch felt real fear. "You raided the Velrin colony," Dongsu said. "You took hostages. I need information about your ground forces. Numbers, positions, defenses." Cratch spit blood. "I tell you nothing, human. Kill me if you want. My warriors will finish the job on the surface." Dongsu nodded slowly. He turned to Taewon. "Take his officers to the airlock. Space them one at a time until he talks." Taewon nodded and grabbed the first officer. The Crag screamed as he was dragged away. A minute later, everyone on the bridge heard the airlock cycle. Then silence. Cratch's confidence crumbled. Wait, I will talk." "Too late." Dongsu's voice was flat. "Continue, Corporal." The second officer was dragged away. Another scream. Another airlock cycle. 200 warriors on the surface. Cratch shouted desperately. "In the central habitation dome. They have the hostages there. Please, no more." Dongsu studied the slaver boss for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Thank you for the information." Cratch sagged with relief. "Execute all prisoners," Dongsu ordered. Cratch's eyes went wide with shock. "But I told you what you wanted." "Yes, and now you are no longer useful." Dongsu turned and walked off the bridge. Sora stood frozen as the order was given. She looked at Hyunwoo, her eyes questioning. The sergeant's expression was hard. "You heard the captain," Hyunwoo said. "These are slavers. They do not get trials. They do not get second chances. Now follow your orders, Private." Sora raised her rifle with shaking hands. Around her, other Marines did the same. The prisoners were forced to kneel. Cratch started begging, then cursing, then screaming. The sound of gunfire echoed through the captured ship. When it was over, Sora stood in silence, her rifle smoking. She had followed orders. She had done her duty. But something inside her felt different now, colder. Hyunwoo placed a hand on her shoulder. "First time is always the hardest. But remember why we did this. 400 innocent people are still on that planet. We are their only chance." Sora nodded but said nothing. She looked at the bodies on the deck and wondered if this was what being a soldier really meant. Back on the Retribution, Dongsu gave his next orders. The dropships fell through Velrin's atmosphere like birds of prey. 6 ships carried 40 Marines along with Dr. Jisoo and her medical team. Private Sora sat in her restraint harness, watching the planet grow larger through the viewport. Her hands no longer shook. After what happened on the flagship, something had changed in her. Sergeant Hyunwoo stood at the front of the troop bay, reviewing the mission plan on his datapad. "Listen up. Ground sensors show 200 hostiles concentrated in the central habitation dome, 400 civilian hostages in the plaza at the center. The rest of the colony appears empty. Expect ambushes in every building." He looked at his Marines. "Our mission is simple. Rescue the hostages. Eliminate every single raider. No prisoners, no mercy. These creatures made their choice when they came here. We are just the consequence." Questions? No one spoke. Everyone knew what they had to do. The dropships landed on the outskirts of the colony. The Marines deployed quickly, forming into 4-man fire teams. The Velrin settlement was small, maybe 30 buildings arranged around the central dome. Smoke still rose from several structures. Bodies of Velran civilians lay in the streets where they had fallen during the initial raid. Sora saw a small gray body near a building entrance, a child maybe. She forced herself to look away and focus on her sector. Inside the central dome, Merchant Captain Velis huddled with the other hostages. The Velran people were terrified. For 3 days they had watched the Crag Raiders abuse and kill their people. Now they heard explosions in space. The slavers were nervous, which made them more dangerous. Commander Vex walked among the hostages, his rifle ready. "Stay calm," he told them in broken galactic common. "You are our insurance now. The humans will not attack while we hold you." But Velis saw something in the commander's eyes. Fear. The slavers had seen their ships destroyed. They knew they were trapped. Desperate creatures did desperate things. Outside the dome, the Marines began their advance. The first building they cleared was a storage facility. As Hyunwoo's team entered, 3 Crag warriors opened fire from cover. Plasma bolts lit up the dark interior. One Marine's shield took a direct hit, overloading, but the return fire was immediate and overwhelming. The humans moved as a unit, covering angles and advancing through the building with practiced precision. Within seconds, all 3 Crag warriors were dead. The Marines did not even slow down. Taewon examined the slaver weapons. "Standard Crag plasma rifles," he said. "I can rig these to overload." He pulled out his tools and began working. "Make it loud," Hyunwoo told him. "I want the rest of them scared." Team by team, the Marines worked through the colony. Each building was cleared methodically. Sometimes they found Crag warriors waiting in ambush. Other times they found civilians hiding in corners, terrified and starving. Dr. Jisoo followed behind the combat teams, treating the wounded Velran they discovered. She worked with quick efficiency, her medical training evident in every movement. A young Velran female had been shot during the initial raid. Jisoo stabilized her, gave her medicine for pain, and called for an evacuation transport. "You're safe now," she told the civilian gently. "The humans are here." A Marine dragged a wounded Crag warrior to her position. The slaver had been shot in the stomach and was bleeding badly. "Doctor, should I finish him?" Jisoo looked at the wounded raider for a moment. Then she returned to treating the Velran civilians. "Yes, he is not my patient." The Marine nodded and walked the slaver away. A single shot echoed from outside. No one commented on it. As the Marines advanced, Taewon left surprises behind. Rigged weapons that would explode when picked up. Charges on doors that would detonate when opened. Bodies positioned in view of windows, a reminder of what waited for the slavers. The psychological warfare was deliberate. Make the enemy afraid. Make them panic. It worked. The Crag warriors in the outer building started hearing explosions and screams. They saw their comrades die. Some tried to run deeper into the colony. The humans hunted them down. Others tried to hide. The humans found them. A few tried to surrender, raising their hands and begging in galactic common. The humans shot them anyway. Commander Vex received reports from his scattered forces. The news was all bad. Half his warriors were already dead. The humans were advancing toward the central dome. They were not slowing down. They were not taking prisoners. They were killing everyone they found. "Pull everyone back to the plaza," Vex ordered. "We make our stand with the hostages. The humans will have to negotiate." But Vex did not understand humans. Negotiation was not something they did with slavers. Hyunwoo's teams reached the outer edge of the central dome. Through his helmet sensors, he could see the heat signatures inside. 200 Crag warriors surrounded the 400 hostages in the plaza. It was a strong defensive position. Any direct assault would get civilians killed. He opened a comm channel to Captain Dong-Soo on the Retribution. "Sir, we have visual on the hostage situation. Recommend we hold position and attempt negotiation." "Negative," Dong-Soo replied immediately. "Prepare for assault. I'm coming down personally." 20 minutes later, a command shuttle landed behind the Marine positions. Captain Dong-Soo walked calmly through the combat zone, his uniform clean and pressed. He showed no concern for the danger. Lieutenant Yuna accompanied him, carrying a datapad with tactical information. Dong-Soo studied the dome entrance. Can we get snipers in position? Yes, sir, Hyun-woo replied. But we will need time to position them without being detected. At least 30 minutes. You have 20. Get them in place. Cover every angle. When I give the word, I want every raider holding a weapon on a hostage to die simultaneously. Hyun-woo felt a cold respect for his captain. Yes, sir. While the snipers moved into position, Dong-soo walked to the dome entrance. He activated the external speakers. Craig forces inside. This is Captain Dong-soo Kim of the United Earthship Retribution. I am here to discuss your surrender. Inside the dome, Commander Vex smiled. Finally, the humans wanted to talk. He activated his own communicator. Human Captain, we hold 400 hostages. You will provide us with a ship and safe passage away from this world. If you refuse, we start executing civilians. You have 1 hour to decide. There was a pause. Then Dong-soo's voice came back, cold and clear. You have 60 seconds to release the hostages and surrender. If you refuse, everyone dies. Vex could not believe what he heard. You would risk the lives of 400 innocents? I am not risking anything, Dong-soo replied. You are. 60 seconds. Starting now. Vex felt panic rising. This was not how negotiations worked. You are bluffing. No civilized species would... 50 seconds. Wait, we can discuss terms. 40 seconds. Velas heard this exchange from where he knelt among the hostages. The human captain was counting down to something. The merchant did not know if he should feel hope or terror. You are insane, Vex screamed. We will kill them all. 20 seconds. Vex looked around wildly. His warriors were nervous. Some were looking at the exits. The humans had broken something in them. The constant killing, the lack of mercy, the fear. 10 seconds. I will kill them. Vex grabbed Velas and put a plasma pistol to the merchant's head. I will do it. 3, 2, 1. The word 0 never came. Instead, 50 rifle shots rang out as one. The snipers Hyun-woo had positioned fired simultaneously. Every crag warrior who had a weapon pointed at a hostage died in that instant. 50 perfect shots. 50 dead slavers. The hostages dropped to the ground, screaming. The remaining crag warriors panicked. Some tried to grab civilians, some tried to run, some tried to fight. The Marines assaulted from every entrance. Hyun-woo led his team through the main door, rifle up and firing. Sora came in behind him, her weapon steady. She no longer hesitated. She saw a crag warrior reaching for a hostage and put 3 rounds in his chest. The warrior fell. The battle inside the dome was chaos. Close quarters fighting in a space full of civilians. But the Marines had trained for this. They moved through the crowd, identifying targets and eliminating them with brutal efficiency. The crag warriors were strong and desperate, but they were fighting in human territory now. In tight spaces where humans excelled, Taiwan threw a flashbang, grenade into a group of slavers trying to organize a defense. The explosion blinded them temporarily. Marines rushed in and finished them before they recovered. Dr. Jisoo ran into the plaza behind the combat teams. She immediately started treating wounded hostages, ignoring the gunfire around her. You are safe now, she told them over and over. Stay down. We are here to help. Commander Vex tried to escape through a side tunnel. Hyun-woo saw him and gave chase. The two ran through the narrow passage, Vex firing wild shots behind him. Hyun-woo pursued calmly, knowing his armor could take a few hits. The tunnel led to the colony's mining operations. Vex reached a junction and tried to seal the door behind him. But Taiwan's demolition charges had been placed there hours ago during the advance. The door exploded inward, knocking Vex to the ground. Hyun-woo walked through the smoke. Vex tried to crawl away, his leg broken from the explosion. Please, the commander begged. I surrender. I have information. I can tell you about other raider groups. Please. Hyun-woo raised his rifle. You should have thought about mercy before you came here. He pulled the trigger. Back in the plaza, the fighting ended. The Galactic Council ship arrived 2 days after the fighting ended. It was a diplomatic vessel, sleek and white, marked with the symbols of peace and civilization. Representative Thune stood on the bridge, watching the Velrin colony grow larger on the view screen. The bird-like alien's feathers were a brilliant blue, and his large eyes showed intelligence and concern. "What is the situation on the surface?" Thune asked his aide. "All hostile forces eliminated. The human ship is still in orbit. Ground forces are providing humanitarian aid to the survivors." The aide paused. "Representative, the reports are disturbing. No prisoners were taken. 200 raiders killed. No survivors from their space fleet either." Thune's feathers ruffled with distress. This is exactly what the Council feared. The humans are too violent, too willing to kill. They do not understand civilized warfare. The diplomatic ship landed near the colony's central dome. Thune emerged with his staff, expecting to find a war zone. Instead, he found organized relief operations. Human Marines were helping rebuild damaged structures. Dr. Jisu's medical teams treated the last of the wounded civilians. Freed hostages were being fed and given shelter, but bodies still lay in neat rows outside the dome. 200 crag warriors waiting for proper disposal, all killed in combat, all left where they fell as evidence. Merchant Captain Velis met the Council representative at the landing pad. The elderly Velrin looked exhausted but alive. "Representative Thune, thank you for coming. Though I wish you had arrived sooner." "I came as soon as we received the distress call," Thune replied. "These things take time. Proper protocols must be followed." The humans did not wait for protocols. They came immediately. Thune examined the colony. "Yes, and I am here to investigate their actions. What happened here violates several Council regulations regarding warfare and treatment of prisoners." Velis looked uncomfortable. "They saved us. 400 of my people would be dead or enslaved if not for them." "I understand, Captain Velis, but rules exist for a reason. Even in war there must be standards. I need to speak with the human commander." Captain Dongsu was in the temporary command center when the Council representative arrived. The human stood as Thune entered, offering a respectful nod. Lieutenant Yuna stood beside him, her datapad ready with after-action reports. "Representative Thune," Dongsu said, "I am Captain Dongsu Kim of the United Earthship Retribution. How can I help you?" Thune settled into a chair, his talons clicking on the floor. "Captain, I am here to investigate the events at this colony. The Council has concerns about human military conduct." "What concerns?" "You took no prisoners. You offered no quarter. Enemy combatants who attempted to surrender were executed. This violates the Galactic Convention on Warfare." Thune pulled out his own datapad. "I have witness statements, battlefield recordings. The evidence is clear." Dongsu remained calm. "Representative, Earth is not a signatory to your conventions. We follow our own military code. But you operate in galactic space now. You must follow galactic law. We respond to distress calls. We eliminate threats. We save lives. That is what happened here." Dongsu gestured to the window where freed hostages were reuniting with families. 400 civilians are alive. That should be what matters. Thune's feathers ruffled with frustration. "Captain, I understand you believe you were helping, but your methods are barbaric. Most species believe in rehabilitation, in giving even enemies a chance to change. You showed no mercy whatsoever." "Mercy for slavers means death for victims," Dongsu replied, his voice hardening. "I learned that lesson 10 years ago." "What do you mean?" Dongsu was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke, and Yuna noticed his hands clench slightly. 10 years ago, pirates raided a colony where my family lived. The Galactic Council responded. They followed all proper protocols. Minimal force, attempts at negotiation, concern for prisoner rights. By the time they finished following procedures, the pirates had escaped. My wife and daughter were never seen again. Thune's expression softened. "Captain, I'm sorry for your loss. But surely you understand that your personal tragedy does not justify... It justifies everything," Dongsu interrupted. "Your rules protect criminals more than victims. Your protocols give slavers time to escape or kill hostages. Your mercy for the cruel is cruelty to the kind. That is not fair. The Council saves millions of lives every year, and fails millions more because you are too worried about being civilized." Dongsu leaned forward. "Tell me, Representative, how many colonies did these crag raiders hit before this one? How many people were enslaved while the Council gathered evidence and prepared proper legal responses?" Thune did not answer immediately. The truth was painful. The crag group had raided 17 colonies in the past year. The Council knew about them, but gathering sufficient evidence, coordinating multiple jurisdictions, preparing proper arrest warrants. It all took time. "We must follow the law," Thun finally said. "And while you follow the law, people die." Dongsu stood. "I will not apologize for saving lives. I will not apologize for eliminating a threat completely. If that makes us too violent for your civilized space, then perhaps you need to reconsider what civilization means." The conversation was interrupted by Dr. Jisoo entering the command center. She carried a medical report. "Captain, I have the final casualty numbers. 50 Velran civilians killed during the initial raid before we arrived. 400 rescued alive. 3 of our Marines are still recovering from injuries, but all will make full recoveries." "And enemy casualties?" Thun asked. Jisoo looked at the council representative with cold eyes. "I do not track enemy casualties. That is not my job. My job is to save lives worth saving." "You refuse to treat wounded enemy combatants," Thun said. "That is a violation of medical ethics. Slavers are not combatants. They are criminals. I will not waste supplies on people who trade in lives." Jisoo's voice was firm. "Every bandage I use on a slaver is one less for an innocent victim." "I made my choice." Thun stood, his feathers puffing with agitation. "This is exactly the problem. You humans have no respect for life. Even enemy life has value. Even criminals deserve basic treatment and dignity. Tell that to the families who lost loved ones while the council debated proper procedures," Jisoo replied. She turned to Dongsu. "Captain, excuse me. I have patients to check on." She left without waiting for dismissal. Private Sora watched this exchange from the doorway. She had been assigned as security for the meeting. Listening to the council representative criticize their actions made something burn in her chest. Anger, maybe, or just frustration. After the meeting, she found Sergeant Hyunwoo outside the dome. "Sergeant, can I ask you something?" "Go ahead, Private. Did we do the right thing?" "The council representative makes it sound like we are monsters." Hyunwoo looked at the freed hostages being cared for by human medical teams. Children playing again. Families together. "Sora, there is a saying on Earth. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. We did something. Was it clean? No. Was it pretty? No. But it worked. But we killed people who tried to surrender. We killed slavers who would have done this again to someone else. How many lives did we save by making sure they could never raid another colony?" Hyunwoo put a hand on her shoulder. "Being a soldier means making hard choices. Living with those choices is the price we pay for protecting others." Sora nodded slowly. She understood, but understanding did not make it easier. Meanwhile, the news of what happened at Velran Colony spread across the galactic networks. Other species heard about the human response. A single ship destroyed 4 raider vessels. 40 Marines killed 200 ground forces. No mercy, no prisoners. Complete elimination of the threat. Slave trader Moxus, the insectoid who had escaped during the space battle, sent warnings to every slaver group he knew. "Stay away from human space. They do not negotiate. They do not show mercy. They kill everyone." Some slavers laughed at the warning. Others took it seriously. Raid plans were canceled. Routes were changed. Human colonies were marked as too dangerous to approach. But not everyone was afraid. Some were angry. A message went out through criminal networks. A gathering was being called. 20 slaver ships from 6 different clans. They would raid a human world. They would show the galaxy that Earth's Deathworlders could be beaten. Back on Velran, Representative Thun prepared his final report. He had interviewed dozens of witnesses, examined evidence, reviewed combat recordings. The conclusion was clear. Humans had violated multiple galactic laws regarding warfare. He met with Captain Velas one last time before departing. "Merchant Captain, I will need your testimony. You were here. You saw what the humans did." Velas looked uncomfortable. "What do you want me to say?" "The truth." "Did the humans take prisoners?" "No." "Did they show mercy to enemies who surrendered?" "No." "Did they execute wounded combatants?" "Yes." Velas paused. "But they also saved 400 lives. They came when no one else would. They did not hesitate. They did not negotiate with the people who were killing us. They just saved us. Even if their methods frighten you." Velas was quiet for a long moment. "Representative, I am afraid of the humans. I admit it." 2 weeks after the Velran incident, the slaver fleet arrived at Terra Nova. 20 ships, 4,000 raiders from 6 different clans, the largest gathering of slavers in the sector's history. They came for revenge. They came to prove that humans could be beaten. Terra Nova was a small border world, 50,000 colonists, mostly farmers and miners. The planet's defense force consisted of 3 patrol ships and 200 local militia. Against 20 raider vessels, they stood no chance. The slaver commanders broadcast their message as they approached. Humans of Terra Nova, you have declared war on our way of life. You have killed our people without mercy. Now we show you what real savagery looks like. Surrender or die. On the surface, Governor Minho Quan received the message in his office. The 40-year-old administrator had been a Marine before retiring to civilian life. He knew exactly what was coming. He activated the emergency broadcast system. All civilians evacuate to the underground shelters immediately. This is not a drill. Militia, report to your stations. We have hostile forces inbound. But even as he gave the orders, Minho knew it was hopeless. The shelters could not hold everyone. The militia could not stop 4,000 raiders. Terra Nova needed help that was not coming in time. Then the comm system activated with an incoming transmission. Governor Quan, this is Captain Dong-Soo Kim of the UES Retribution. We are 30 minutes out. Hold position. We are coming. Minho felt a rush of hope mixed with dread. 1 ship against 20. Even with the Retribution's reputation, those were terrible odds. But it was better than nothing. In orbit above Terra Nova, the 3 patrol ships moved to intercept the slaver fleet. They knew they would die. But they could buy time for civilians to reach shelter. The commanding officer, Captain Yura Shin, opened fire first. Her small ship's weapons barely scratched the raider cruisers, but she kept firing anyway. The slaver fleet returned fire. Within minutes, 2 patrol ships were destroyed. Captain Shin's vessel was crippled, but still fighting. She rammed her dying ship into a raider cruiser, causing massive damage to both vessels. Her last words were broadcast to the planet below. For Terra Nova, for humanity. The colonists heard her sacrifice, heard her die protecting them. In the shelters, families huddled together and prayed. On the surface, the militia prepared for ground assault, knowing they were massively outnumbered. Then the Retribution arrived. The human warship dropped out of hyperspace at high speed, weapons already firing. Lieutenant Yuna had calculated the jump perfectly. They emerged in the middle of the slaver formation, catching them completely off guard. All weapons free, Captain Dong-Soo ordered. Maximum aggression. Show them what happens when you threaten human worlds. The Retribution fired from every weapon port. Missiles, kinetic rounds, energy weapons. 3 slaver ships died in the first 30 seconds, torn apart by concentrated fire. The slaver fleet scattered, trying to reform and return fire. But Dong-Soo had studied their tactics. He knew how they moved, how they thought. The Retribution chased 1 ship and destroyed it, then immediately pivoted to engage another. Yuna's targeting was perfect. Every shot found weak points. Engine cores, weapon systems, bridge sections. Captain, orbital platforms from Terra Nova are now active, Yuna reported. Civilian defense grid is online. Coordinate with them. Create a crossfire pattern. Do not let any ships reach the surface. The slaver commanders had expected an easy victory. Instead, they found themselves fighting for survival. The single human ship moved like a predator, fast and aggressive. Each attack was calculated. Each shot was lethal. And behind the Retribution, Terra Nova's defense platforms added their firepower to the battle. On the surface, Sergeant Hyunwoo led his Marines out of the Retribution before the space battle even started. Dropships had landed during the chaos, deploying ground forces. 40 Marines against an expected landing force of over 1,000 slavers. But Hyunwoo had advantages the slavers did not. He was defending his home ground. He knew every street and building, and his people were fighting for their families. Private Sora checked her weapon as the dropship's doors opened. She was no longer the nervous young Marine from Velrin. She had become something colder, more efficient. When she thought about killing now, she felt nothing. Just calculation and purpose. Remember your training, Hyunwoo told his squads. We are defending human civilians. These creatures came to our world, our territory. Show them why that was a mistake. The first wave of slavers landed in the agricultural sector, 1,000 raiders heavily armed and confident. They had raided dozens of worlds. This would be another easy victory. They were wrong. The militia hit them first. Local farmers and miners who had served in the military. They knew the land. They used it. Ambush after ambush. traps set in fields, explosives hidden in buildings. The slavers found themselves fighting an enemy that refused to stand still and die. Then the Marines arrived. Hyunwoo's 40 professionals tore through the raider formations like a knife. They moved in small teams, hitting hard and disappearing. Taewon planted charges on raider equipment and supply dumps. Explosions ripped through the landing zones. Dr. Jisoo set up a field hospital in the colony's main shelter. Wounded militia came in steady streams. She worked without rest, treating injuries and sending people back to fight. When a Marine suggested they might treat enemy wounded for intelligence, she refused without looking up. Bring me defenders, not invaders. In space, the battle continued. The Retribution had destroyed 8 slaver ships, but the human vessel was taking damage. Shields were failing. Hull breaches in multiple sections. Engineering reported fires on 3 decks. Captain, we cannot take much more, the engineering officer reported. Dong-soo studied the tactical display. 12 enemy ships remained. Yuna, give me options. We can retreat and regroup. Call for reinforcements. Unacceptable. We retreat and they reach the planet. How many civilian casualties? Estimated 10,000 or more if they make landfall. Then we do not retreat. Dong-soo made his decision. Prepare for ramming speed. Target their flagship. Yuna looked at her captain. Sir, that will destroy us too. Maybe, but it will definitely destroy them. That is acceptable. Dong-soo opened a comm channel to the crew. All hands, this is the captain. We are going to ram the enemy flagship. Damage control teams prepare for impact. Marines on the surface continue operations regardless of what happens to us. It has been an honor serving with you all. But before the Retribution could execute the desperate maneuver, something unexpected happened. 3 more human ships dropped out of hyperspace. Reinforcements from the inner colonies. They had heard about the slaver attack and came as fast as they could. Captain, we have friendlies inbound. Yuna reported with the closest thing to emotion Dong-soo had ever heard in her voice. 3 cruisers. They are engaging the enemy. The fresh human ships tore into the slaver fleet. The raiders, already battered and demoralized, broke formation. Some tried to fight, some tried to flee. None succeeded. Captain Dong-soo changed his orders. All ships form a blockade. Nothing escapes. Repeat, nothing escapes. Over the next 2 hours, the battle turned into an execution. Slaver ships were hunted down one by one. When they tried to surrender, the humans destroyed them anyway. When they tried to flee, the humans pursued and killed them. When they begged for mercy, the humans gave the same mercy the slavers had shown their victims. None. On the ground, the remaining raiders realized their fleet was gone. No escape, no reinforcements. They tried to retreat to their landing ships, but Taiwan had planted charges on everyone. The ships exploded when the slavers tried to board them. Trapped and desperate, the raiders fought to the last. Some tried to take hostages. The Marines killed them before they could. Some tried to hide. The militia found them. Some tried to surrender. No one accepted it. By the time the sun set on Terra Nova, 4,000 raiders were dead. 20 slaver ships destroyed. The largest slaver operation in the sector, completely annihilated. Human casualties were 97 dead, over 200 wounded. But Terra Nova stood. The civilians were safe. Representative Thune arrived 3 days later with a council investigation team. He had heard about the battle and came immediately. What he found shocked him. The destroyed slaver fleet in orbit, the battlefield on the surface, and in the colony's main square, a memorial. Governor Minho stood before the memorial, where names of the fallen were displayed. Human militia and Marines who gave their lives defending the colony. Captain Shin and her patrol ship crews, all honored equally. Thune approached the governor. I came to investigate another human military action. More violations of warfare conventions, more excessive force. Minho turned to face the council representative. 4,000 slavers attacked our world. 4,000 slavers died. Not a single civilian was taken, not one. Those are the only numbers that matter. But the rules. Your rules nearly got my people enslaved. Minho's voice rose with anger. We sent distress calls. We followed protocols. We waited for council response. And while we waited, slavers landed on our soil. If Captain Dong-soo had not arrived when he did, my world would be empty right now. Thune had no response to that. He knew the governor was right. The council response time was measured in days.